Want to be a superhero? Sure you do. Then you need the Roy Bickel School of Superheroes. Roy and his staff will teach you everything you need to be a superhero. You get tips on costume selection, battling evil foes, flying lessons, fun with big guns, and of course, hurting pesky news crews, and much, much more. And of course, there will be plenty of time to have fun with all the babes. That's right, let's just face it, chicks dig superheroes. Classes are forming now, so you must act quickly. For a limited time only, you can get this complete day of training for only $250,000, cash only. So call 555-THE-HERO. That's 555-THE-HERO.
Hello, and welcome once again to Geezers of Gear. Thanks for joining me today. I didn't want to say it, but God, I'm looking forward to today's podcast. It is a good one. This gentleman is literally the godfather of rigging, rock and roll rigging, and quite a story he tells. So I hope you're looking forward to it. It's a great one. And I also wanted to mention that we are doing these two events at LDI this year, and actually registration for Dining with Dinosaurs as a single event, one event ticket, basically. You can go to just Dining with Dinosaurs and nothing else. It is going to be an incredible networking event, some real legends, including today's guest, but a lot of really, really great people are going to be at Dining with Dinosaurs this year. It is on Saturday night, so it's a networking event, some drinks, some food, some round tables, a panel of incredible people, the who's who of our industry. And so Dining with Dinosaurs, as I said, you can go to LDI Show now and you can buy tickets just for Dining with Dinosaurs. We, of course, don't make any money from that. It goes to the show. And secondly, myself and Jake Barry, in cooperation with LDI, are creating the X Live concert sessions. Sorry, concert lighting sessions, I was going to say. And so this is a really cool thing. It's a I think it's like 9:30 till 5:30 or something on that same Saturday. So it goes from there straight into Dining with Dinosaurs after. They are two separate events. But X Live really is a deep immersion in a quick one-day set of sessions into concert touring. Some very, very important topics. You can see those topics again on LDI Show website. But and I think there's a bunch of passes where it's already included in the pass, so you don't have to pay extra. And I can't remember what those passes are called or anything, but we'll be promoting it a lot more when we get closer to the show. So I'm very much looking forward to both of those events, and I hope that all of you and the entire industry supports it. These are both going to be perennial annual events at LDI. I think they'll both be extremely successful this year. I'm almost positive Dining with Dinosaurs will sell out based on the success of last year and just the amount of people talking about it. We're getting dinosaurs reaching out to us this year saying, please make me a part of it. So really looking forward to that. And so today's episode is with a gentleman named Roy Bickel. Roy is a legendary rigger, performer, and industry pioneer. With a career spanning over 60 years, Roy Bickel is a living legend in the world of live entertainment. From his early days as a professional water skier in the 60s in Florida to flying through the air as a human cannonball in a circus, Roy's path has been anything but ordinary. In 1969, he transitioned from circus tents to concert tours, launching a groundbreaking rigging career that would span Broadway, arena concerts, Olympics, and global productions. He helped standardize the color-coded wire rope system still used today and talks about that on this podcast. Trained generations of riggers and also worked with icons like Elvis Presley, Joni Mitchell, Billy Joel, Kiss, Destiny's Child, Beyoncé, and so many more. Roy's expertise has taken him from rigging Mary Poppins to fly across arenas to managing safety on Olympic flames to innovating load-bearing techniques still in use across the industry. His reputation for grit, ingenuity, and mentorship is unmatched, and his stories are as jaw-dropping as his career. An ESTA Lifetime Award recipient and 2025 Parnelli honoree, Roy continues to work, teach, and inspire, proving that curiosity, courage, and character can take you from a hotel pool ski show to the biggest stages on earth. So please, welcome Roy Bickel. Roy, hello. How are you today?
Wonderful, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's a long time in the making. I think we actually first started talking about doing a podcast with you last year prior to the Dining with Dinosaurs thing we did. And, you know, Sarah's persistent, so it took her a year, but we got her done. Or we're getting her done. Yeah, Sarah's good. I'm fortunate to have her. So I appreciate you taking the time to do this. You know, you're doing so many things as far as giving back to the industry. You're educating people. You're getting involved in some of the things we're doing, like Dining with Dinosaurs and X Live. And I know you're doing LDI Rigs thing as well. So, you know, thank you for all of those things you do. I love that about our industry, and you're certainly one of the leaders leading that charge of mentorship and education and stuff. You know, certainly when you get into something like rigging, education is important. And, you know, I'm old enough to remember not the days that you started in this, but certainly the earlier days of rigging, especially rock and roll tours, when guys were wasted out of their mind and, you know, not using safety harnesses or fall arrest or anything, and climbing these rigs. And, you know, it was certainly a much more dangerous game, even though the systems and the shows and stuff are so much larger today. And, you know, when you get into some of the stuff that Tate's doing with their navigator and people flying around and all kinds of crazy stuff, it's certainly got potential for more danger. But I think because the industry as a whole has grown up and become, you know, more educated and more careful and more professional. Yeah. So we have so much to talk about today, and I'm not even sure exactly where to start, except maybe at the beginning. You know, you had what I would call a very unique beginning, in that I believe you started as a water skier.
Yes, sir.
How does that happen?
I was in St. Petersburg, Florida, going to college, St. Petersburg Junior College, and I knew how to ski because I had learned it and when I lived in Miami. And I was on the way to the beach, and I see a ski jump and a bunch of guys skiing, and I pulled over. It so happened they needed a young, strong guy. So I joined them, and we did ski shows and around the Bay Area of St. Petersburg and Clearwater and Bradenton. And I ended up being the guy that fixed all the ropes to make special links for pyramids with different numbers of people, 2 and 3 high. Mm-hmm. So I got my really basic rope training while I was doing ski shows. And we did crazy stuff. We ended up doing ski shows in swimming pools. Hal Elgin, who was the head of the group, said, "Hey, I've got an old Austin, an old car, that he wanted to use to pull skiers." So we figured out how to jack it up, and we made a drum and bolted it, took a wheel off in the back and bolted it to it, attached the rope to it, went through a pulley in the front. And we had a problem, of course, making the speed constant. So we came up and we put a bar in with pins, and each act would have a gear and a pin number. And so, so barefoot, which was the fastest, maybe that would be second or third gear, fourth pin, and you would just hit it to the pin, and that would be your speed till you hit the brake at the end of the run. This was for, of course, the pool shows, and we also did them in marinas, in the marina area where you couldn't really drive a boat, but you could park the car. And we did all kinds of acts in pools, pyramids, lava.
How big were these pools, though?
Oh, they were like almost Olympic size, which I think is almost 50 meters.
So what can you do as a show skier or whatever from one end of a pool to another end of the pool?
Well, we used to do a barefoot act.
Yeah.
And the way we did that, I was the guinea pig. I would have two guys with their arms out, and I'd lay on my back on their arms, and then we would go back and forward till the rope was tight, and then I would be locked in, and I would nod, and one of the guys would signal, and the guy would hammer, hit the pedal to the metal.
Yeah.
And that would be instantly, say, 42 miles an hour. And then sometimes I'd clear where I'd be on top of the water and I could see. Another time there'd be just so much spray I couldn't see, and he would like hit the brake. And then, of course, I would sink. We graduated to making a plywood deck that we laid over the side of the pool. And then we'd get that water down so you would stick to it. I'd lay down on that. And then I would hit the water and I wouldn't sink at all. I would just be already at barefoot speed. And then one time at the very beginning, you're still depending on the driver to hit the brake. And he didn't hit the brake. I hit the side of the pool, and we had a little ramp. And I said to him, "Wow, I'm lucky for you that I hit the ramp." And he said, "You didn't come near the ramp." And I went over and looked, and I could see little skin marks on the side of the pool.
Oh, my God.
Fortunately, I didn't break anything, and I just skidded on the pool.
Thanks again for joining me on Geese of Gear. Today's podcast is brought to you by our newest sponsor, GearShare. Launching on September 2nd, 2025, GearShare is the first AI-powered rental marketplace for the live events industry. It's built to eliminate friction and locate even the toughest to find gear globally. Forget old school sub-rental headaches. GearShare is built around gear spotting, an AI search tool that actually finds the gear you need, plus GearSync, keeping your listings synced automatically and with almost zero effort. Even better, there are zero transaction fees. You rent, you deal direct, and you hold on to 100% of that revenue. If you're a rental or production company tired of losing gigs, low utilization, or dealing with manual methods, it's time to jump in. Getting in before the end of August gives you access to Founders Club discounts and other benefits. So visit gearshare.live to join the waitlist and take better control of your sub-rentals and drive up revenues today. Wow.
We did stuff where we, on the parades, we would have a boat towed with a car, and we would ski just on crummy skis that we were going to throw away behind it on the asphalt.
Oh my
and we did
goodness.
crazy stuff. And then we were the safety boat for boat races, what we call around the island. And then while I was doing that, I would go to the beach and do high bar stuff, and we would practice dismounts to the sand. And I met a guy that said, "Hey, you're pretty agile. Why don't you come down and try out for our youth circus?" I said, "Wow, that sounds like fun." So at one of the parks, there was a girl, Faye Zucchini, who I didn't know at the time, but she had married the son of the guy who invented the human cannonball act.
Oh my God.
And so while I'm working with her, I did trapeze, high wire, trampoline. While we're doing that, there was a rash of accidents in the circus of cannonballs, broken backs, broken legs, and no deaths. And she said, "Hey, we need a cannonball. You want to do it?" I said, "Yeah."
Okay, Roy, hang on a sec, because I got to back up a little bit here.
Okay.
I mean, so first of all, like when you started this skiing thing, you're in your what, late teens?
I was like, 19, 20, 21. It was
And
like 61 or 60. So I
were
was
you just crazy? Were you
19,
just like,
20.
were you
Yeah.
just a daredevil type of person, type
I
of
was
kid?
the, let's have Roy try it.
Yeah.
They
So
used
all
to
your friends
say
would dare you to do
on
things and you
those,
were,
on those water skiing stuff. Okay, is there anybody here besides Roy that's strong enough to hold the center of a pyramid? That would be the question. And
wow.
sometimes it would be volunteers, and sometimes it would be me again.
Was this at like the Wisconsin Dells or something?
Yeah, well, yeah, we competed with Cypress Gardens, which is in the center of Florida.
Okay.
We did, I think, more stuff than they did at the time.
Yeah.
We did backward pyramids, 15 man, too high,
Yeah.
3 high. I forget the number of people that there were.
Yeah.
We did more stuff, but then if we got hurt, we lost work, but we didn't have to cancel a show. Somebody else
Yeah.
could do it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I went to the Dells probably
yeah, that was circus people in the Wisconsin Dells.
91 or something, I think
Oh,
is
wow.
when I went there.
Yeah, I was
Um,
deep in
my
the rock and roll then.
my ex-wife was from the Chicago area, and
Oh, wow.
I visited her at one point when we were dating, and I remember going to the Dells for a weekend, and I was like, this place is like stuck in the 70s.
Uh-huh.
And it kind of was, it probably still is today.
Yeah.
But I remember the water skiing shows, how great they were. I was like, wow, where did this come from, So it came from you. You were one of those guys.
Yeah.
So
I didn't do the Dells, but I did all around Florida.
oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I live in Florida most of the year, and I haven't been to those places in Florida, so I'm going to have to check that out too. So, you are some kind of a daredevil, obviously, and not only are you attracted to that sort of lifestyle, it seems to take notice of you and go, hey, this guy's special. He's either crazy enough or talented enough or strong enough or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But so it just kept coming, right? So
Yeah.
after the water skiing, like you said, you're suddenly joining the circus and getting shot out of a cannon. And
Yeah. I lived in St. Pete. The Cannon Papa Zucchini, Edmundo was his real name, but we all called him Papa, lived in Tampa.
mhm,
So I went to Tampa, and they had a vacant lot, and the cannon shots are adjustable, like a slingshot. The further you pull back, the further you go, and the first shots it just poops you out. The cannon is like over the edge of the net,
yeah,
and it just poops you. And then you go 2 or 3 jumps until you're at the top of the net. Then the cannon moves back, and you do the same jump you just did, but now you're landing in the beginning of the net.
ah,
So I did my 42nd shot was a professional cannon shot, and I think Montreal. And I didn't know it at the time, but he said, "Oh, this is going to be a double cannon." I said, "What's that?" He said, "Well, 2 of you get shot. You'll be the second one shot. Ruth, who they called Edwina, because everybody had to be in the family.
yeah,
They called me Roy Zucchini.
yeah,
Anyway, they said Edwina or Dwayna, I forget which it was, will get shot first, and then you'll get shot out. You'll follow her in the air about 15 feet behind her.
jeez,
Don't look at her." I said, "Okay." But I did look at her. So I was in the early stages, and so my jumps and landings were all good. But later on, as I got used to everything, and you black out when you shot because like 12, 13 Gs.
oh, jeez,
So I blacked out, and I'd come to over the net.
oh,
And then I would adjust myself and start thinking about landing.
does that happen
the
every
end of the
time?
first
Like, do
year-
you
Pardon
black
me?
out every time, or just once
Blacked
in a
out
while?
every time for about the first year.
Really?
Towards the end of the first year, all of a sudden I didn't black out at all. And I saw this smoke. There was a flash pot in the mouth of the barrel,
Yeah,
and something triggered it when I passed over it, and it would go off and the smoke would follow me. I saw the smoke, I see the net, 140 feet away. I did a long jump. I did 165 feet,
yeah,
55 yards.
wow,
Anyway, and then that's, 100 feet away, and I know I'm dead. And then I realized I'm still going up.
oh my
From then
goodness,
on, my landings were all overturned because I'm looking for the net. And I finally had a guy, an old cannonball, tell me, says, look with your eyes, not your head. So in other words, don't look like this.
Yeah.
Look over your nose. So
Ah.
I learned how to do that, and then from then on, all my landings were really good.
Let me ask you something, Roy. So
Yes, sir.
in these cannonball things, I mean, everyone, I think, when you're young, especially, people think it's a cannon, you know, that there's actually some sort of, you know, explosion inside of it. And that explosion is what's projecting you. What actually is it, though? What is like, is it a spring of some sort that?
Propulsion was all bungee. There were
Bungee.
like 24 3/4-inch bungee cables, and you're inside a cylinder, like a oval Coca-Cola can.
Yeah.
And the bungee is attached around the cylinder that you're in, and they go through pulleys at the mouth of the barrel, back through pulleys at the bottom of the barrel, which was 23 feet long, and
Okay.
then goes up and is anchored to the side. And then a winch pulls it back.
Okay.
And the whole thing really, the farther back you pull it, the further you go.
Yeah.
But the whole thing was having a clean release.
Not
where
hitting
you really
anything on the
release,
sides or
and
whatever.
then the cable would keep the cylinder from following you in the air.
Ah.
And it was like an over and under shotgun. I'm in the top cylinder, and the bottom cylinder is where the other person. Usually it was Ruth, and then it was a guy named Wayne, Mickey. I worked with different guys.
Yeah.
I was always the guy at the top that went the furthest.
Yeah. Interesting.
And,
So it's basically like a platform, you know, and then bungees are attached to the back of it, and they pull the platform down.
We're actually attached around the sides, and it's a cylinder with a bottom to it.
Yeah.
And then a bar, which I never sat on, but there was a bar like at the crotch level. So if your knees gave out, the bar would catch you.
I see.
And the girls all sat down, they told me, but I never did. I always felt better standing up. And it's so tight, if you get in with your arms up, you can't get in.
Yeah.
You can't get your elbows tucked in.
Right.
So I learned after my first or second time to stop myself at the top, get my elbows in, and then slide down, and then wiggle like this, and then you become real tight, so there's no wobble.
Yeah.
In you when you're shot.
So what keeps you from catching the sides and like slowing your projection out of it or whatever?
Tracks, and the cylinder, you're like my fist, you're inside it, and it's on tracks, and you're inside it till it comes out of the barrel a little bit.
Oh, so the whole cylinder goes forward.
And then you keep going, yeah.
I get it. So you're not just standing on a little platform and the platform launches you out. You're actually in a tube.
And a cylinder
and the
with the bottom to it, and the whole thing goes.
Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, just curious. I've never known how that all worked.
Right.
I knew it wasn't an explosion, obviously, but
and my 5 years in the circus as a performer, prop boss, and rigger, we never bridled anything. Every circus show was laid out according to where the beams are. We've got a wire rack. You look for where the main beam is, you know, and that's where you hang the wire rack. And then trapeze, which doesn't take much weight. We'll do trapeze over here. And all the girls at Tada, the girls that climb the rope and pose and look pretty. Yeah, we'll do them here because that's just a lightweight beam. You know, there's no weight. And I handled the girls a lot of times for $10 a week. You know, I'd handle the rope and swing it when they wanted to rotate. And
so that's also interesting. And you know, you had no training or anything for this, right? It was just like, hey, you want to go in the cannon? And you did your training there.
My acrobatic training was in the youth circus.
Okay.
And then also as a cannonball, I also did trapeze. I was a fill-in flyer. I wasn't a good flyer, but I was a brave flyer. I'd fly to anybody. But I did more catching because I was a good catcher. But a lot of flyers didn't want to fly to a new catcher. You know, but I wasn't afraid. So
where did you get this? Where did you get this fearlessness from?
Oh, young and dumb.
But
I just
did your parents do anything weird? Like were they?
No, my dad was career Sears and Roebuck. God, back in the 40s when Second World War happened, my dad and both my uncles ran to join up. My dad landed in Normandy, So
Wow.
he to me is a real hero. My two uncles
Yeah.
both were on boats, which doesn't make him not a hero.
Yeah.
The landing in Normandy is a hero
Wild.
thing.
Yeah.
And he made it 19 days, and he's under a tree limb, and a 88 millimeter tank ship hits a limb above his head, fragments, takes off his right hand. He grabbed it, and he's telling me this. He grabbed it, wrapped it up, and then the medics finally come to get him, and he's on a stretcher, and he gets shot either the thigh or the butt.
On
And
the
then they get into
stretcher.
the jeep, and then they flip him over, and he's shot in either the thigh or the butt. So he got a triple heart cluster for the 3 injuries, all on his right side. The VA did good, really good with him. But then
And he
went back to
survived.
Sears, and he worked for Sears until I think he was 48, and he retired.
Wow.
And he and my mom followed me to Madeira Beach. And even though I was gone with the circus, I still saw them quite often. So that was cool.
Did they ever sit you down and say, "Now, Roy, we'd
My
like you to
mother
maybe
refused
think of a
to
different
watch me
approach"?
getting shot out of the cannon.
I can't blame her for
Yeah,
that.
my
Yeah.
dad watched. I
Yeah.
took him to, or I said, "Hey, we're playing Baton Rouge," which was the closest city that I was doing the cannon, and they came, and my mother hid her eyes. My dad said, "I think I saw you, but the there were 2 flash spots. There was a slow burner for the smoke, and then a fast burner, which was a bang.
Yeah.
There was a bang and then a puff." He says, "But I think the bang made me jump, and I might have missed you. So I may have just seen the second guy."
Yeah.
But anyway, that was
So
the only time they visited.
let me ask you
Yeah.
before we move on from the cannonballs and the
Okay.
water skiing and stuff. How often did you get hurt?
I almost missed the net, both being shot low where the bungee fouled up and it stopped me. And then one time, I always aimed it, and I could only see the front of the cannon, but I aimed it, and one of the back wheels was in a rut. So the back was like cocked. So the barrel, instead of going like this, it went like this.
Ooh.
So, and I didn't know that, because part of the act is styling and smiling and climbing up on standing on the cannon barrel. And as the barrel goes up, you're standing, and then at the top, you salute and then get in the barrel. So I didn't know it was crooked, and I got shot out. And instead of hitting in the center of the net, I would have missed the net, but I grabbed it, the edge of the net,
Yeah.
and then recoiled up. I held on. It flipped me back into the net.
Wow.
And this was in the circus, and I had spotter guys. I used to have movies of this. They said, "Oh, yeah, we would have caught you." And I looked at the movies, and they hadn't even moved.
Yeah.
They ran after I recoiled.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
I had, when I was in the overturning where I was looking with my head instead of my nose, I would land feet first in the net, and my knees, because I'm bow-legged, instead of hitting my nose, they would hit me like below the eyes.
Yeah.
I'd have black eyes. Then overturning, I would twist my ankles. I'd have them taped up. But eventually, after talking to this old, like I am now, this old circus guy, and he told me, look with your head, not your nose, I didn't overturn anymore. Then I could actually look around while I was in the air.
Interesting piece of advice.
Yep.
So you never got seriously injured.
No, I never broke anything in the circus. My biggest injury was when I was catching, and I was still looking with my head instead of my nose, and I stretched out over, and I was catching a girl doing a 1.5,
Okay.
which is a backward somersault, and her legs were supposed to hit my arm, but because I wasn't looking and she didn't know how to do the trick, instead of taking it up, she traveled it, and so she caught me in the mouth, knocked me out, took my teeth through my lip, and my legs are wrapped around the catcher's trapeze, and I'm just passing out, and I feel myself falling, and I tightened up my legs, and I didn't fall, but I'm bleeding, and blood is everywhere. And I come down the rope, and the girls, "Oh, are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm bleeding everywhere. I say, "I'm fine. It's a flesh wound."
Yeah. Wow.
So
That
I
is
went to the
crazy.
hospital. They sewed me up. I still bite it every once in a while.
So how did you transition from circus performer
Okay.
to rigger?
Okay.
Because
Um,
I don't know if people know this. I mentioned it in the intro, but you really are kind of the godfather of at least the rigging that we know, rock and roll rigging,
yeah.
theatrical rigging. This episode is brought to you today by ETC Rigging. For 50 years, ETC has made a name for itself in the world of entertainment technology. You can find ETC products in buildings of every size across the entire globe. Broadway shows, rock concerts, sports stadiums, outdoor parks, TV studios, and convention centers, you name it. They have all trusted ETC to make their spaces beautiful and safe. Many of these spaces include rigging systems to keep them running smoothly and safely. Fortunately, ETC Rigging offers a range of hoists and controls to accommodate the unique needs of various production spaces and budgets. ETC's motorized hoists and hoist control systems raise theater technology, including stage curtains, lighting equipment, backdrops, projection screens, and more. And the recent addition of Prodigy Balance, a new counterweight rigging solution for loads up to 1,200 pounds, brings more options to venues looking for safe, user-friendly rigging. If you need backstage rigging that is easy to learn and safe for students and volunteers to use, Prodigy Balance could be the answer. ETC is known for its customer support and 24/7, 365 availability. But now, employees have even more of a personal stake in maintaining that reputation because ETC has become 100% employee-owned. Each person building the rigging systems, developing the control software, and answering support calls is actually an owner at ETC. Outstanding support, reliable products, innovative technologies. This is the foundation of excellence ETC has built over the past 50 years, and they plan to deliver more in the next 50. For the latest ETC products and installation news, visit etcconnect.com.
Without bragging,
Yeah.
I'm the first.
Yeah.
I was. We did a date with a cannon where we hung the net. It normally was on net poles, like the pencil here, the net's here. But because there wasn't room or there was something that went on the ground, they said, we're going to hang the net. So, yeah, what's that? I said, well, then they have block and falls. And then the circus riggers, which I wasn't at that time, hung the point. So I said to Papa, I said, I'm going to go up and see how that's connected. So I was a good climber. I went up and looked at it, and the prop boss, Casey Gibbs, saw me, says, hey, you're a pretty good climber. We need a circus rigger. You want to be a circus rigger? I said, sure. How much? He said, like $125 a week or something.
That's good money back then, huh?
And then I gravitated from there to prop boss, and I'm doing this is the transition. So I'm doing a show in New Orleans, another show in New Orleans, and it's indoors. And Bob Yerkes, who was had the trapeze act, and he was a stuntman, got a call from Disney, and he didn't want to be the advanced tech rigger. He said, I got a guy right here. Let me see if he'll do it. And Bill Blanton was the Disney guy, and he put me with Bill Blanton. I spoke to him on the phone, and he said, when can you join us? We're already in rehearsal. I said, well, I can be there when the show is over in less than a month. And what's it pay? He says, $275 a week plus $175 per diem.
Wow.
So I'll do it. So I flew to LA, to KTLA. We were rehearsing in Culver City Studios. I joined, and from circuses, I learned every act carried their own steel. And they would have a short steel and a long steel for each point. And there would almost always be extra steel. And when we tied everything, there were no baskets or even chokes that you just wrap it and do a clove hitch or a rolling hitch, and then take the excess and tuck it into the wrap so the steel's not hanging down.
Yeah.
So I always wondered why circus acts didn't have their own steel. I'd already figured out in my mind what I was going to do. And on Disney, I said, can I make all our own steel? And they said, yeah. So I made 5s, 10s, 20s, 30s, and 50s. And how am I going to tell them apart? Red, white, and blue. That was easy. Red for 5, white for 10, blues for 20. 30s and 50s. What'll they be? I did alphabetical. Yellow, green.
Yeah.
Red, white, blue, yellow, green. And that's still used everywhere today.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So on Disney, I did all quarter inch. The heaviest point was 1,000 pounds. And I bought all the shackles. And then we just used 3/8 and 1/2 inch because it was all lightweight stuff. And did that for 5 years on Disney. I was the only touring rigger, and we had to bridle things, which wasn't done before Disney. And in Madison Square Gardens, I became the touring rigger because there weren't any other than circuses. Circuses dead hung with fleet angle or whatever for a grid that they hung, which was a pipe grid. And then all the acts, all the lightweight acts would hang from there. The heavy acts would all be dead hangs wherever there was a dead hang being. On Disney, there was a theatrical floor plan, and everything, not everything, but most things had to be bridled because you had to hang it according to the plot, or the dancers would have to be re-choreographed. So the guys at Madison Square Gardens asked me to move there. They said, well, you can work here. So what'll I make? And he said, you'll make, well, it's a grunt. You'll make about 1,000 a week. But I was just finishing Disney and gravitated into rock and roll. And I did theater in between, by the way.
Yeah. Jeez.
But I said, no, I can't really move here. But coincidentally, I'm doing one of the late Disney shows, and it was OSHA's first show. And so the Madison Square Garden guy said, hey, talk to Roy. He's the rigger. He been to every round the world. He'll know. So they talked to me and really asked me a question. Is that safe? Is that good? I said, yeah, the dangerous acts, you'll see they have a safety belt. It wasn't really like a legal safety now, but it was legal enough then where if you fall, you don't hit the ground. And in the early days, the performers would wear it mostly, but the riggers didn't have any safety, didn't wear safety.
No. Yeah.
Didn't want a safety.
Yeah.
That extra weight and that cumbersome stuff.
Well, even for many years when safeties were introduced into the rock and roll industry,
that was Rocky Paulson made that happen.
But most of these climbers still didn't use it.
I saw my first harness in '88. That was actually from Ed Kish.
Yeah.
And Ed Kish and Rocky Paulson and Joe Branham, Bobby Grenier, they all worked for me in the early circus days.
Yeah.
I supplied all the riggers when rock and roll exploded. And because I had been to all the buildings, I would still do a site survey because now buildings are getting their rigging guy, their AutoCAD guy.
Yeah.
And then I would have to go over with them where we were going to hang and what we were going to hang and how much weight it was going to be.
So a lot of your work probably in the early days was sort of like consulting, like where either venues or acts were coming to you and saying, "Hey, Roy, you know how to do this stuff. How should we do it?"
Yeah, the early vendors would call me and saying, hey, what rigging do we need for Elvis, or what rigging do we need for the Stones or Aerosmith?
Yeah.
The early acts. And I would tell them.
Yeah.
And actually, going back to Disney, they asked me, do you have any credentials? And I've got years of experience with no credentials. They said, you need something.
Yeah.
So I spoke to a guy named Doug Rawson with Cable Co. in LA. And I said, I need to get a certification of some kind. Is there any rigging certification? And they said, no, there's not. But we have a crane class, which certifies that you know what rigging gear is and what ratings are. And so I said, oh, I'll take that class. So the class was on Queen Mary in Long Beach. That's where the class was. So I went
Yeah.
there, I took the class, and I got that from Doug Rawson. Roy Bickel is shown to be knowledgeable and certified in the use of wire rope rigging and clips, some kind of wording like that.
Yeah.
And then later
It's
on,
wild though.
of course, rigging classes came to be with guys that I taught, Rocky Paulson, Bill Sapsis, Ed Kish.
Small
Bill
names.
never worked for
Small
me,
names in the
Rocky and
industry.
Ed did, and Joe Branham, and then me. We all had rigging classes.
Huh.
And then in 2004, Rocky got hooked up with ESTA and the ETCP rigging certifications, and he asked me to be one of the subject matter experts. In 2004, I was living here in Vegas, and the classes were in Kansas City. So I became one of the subject matter experts with Rocky, and we wrote the arena certification questions and answers. And we had to have an attorney there because we didn't want to be sued later if something happened.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of multiple choice. And that's what I did. And I did all my paperwork to get ECTP rigging certification. And my certification's 001. So
Oh my goodness.
Just wanted to do it. That was even before the arena certification, and I became 011. So I was number 11 for that.
That's wild.
So early certification. I'm still active. I still have the cards. I still see ETCP at LDI. In fact, when we go there, I'll be there, of course.
Yeah. That's wild. So where did it go from Disney after that?
From Disney, I had a short run. Okay, Pete Feller did all the Broadway shows. He was like the shop. And he did Disney as well. And he came there and he watched me rig and he watched me fly Mary Poppins and then Peter Pan. And it was a console with an inductively coupled antenna and a single phase unistrut on each side of a wavy track that powered these cars. We had 6 cars with push button control, forward, reverse, up and down, slow, medium, and fast. And he saw me flying Mary Poppins, which I'll talk about a Mary Poppins accident in a minute.
Oof.
And he said, hey, if you ever leave Disney, come to New York and I'll keep you busy doing Broadway shows.
Huh.
Okay. And at that time I wasn't thinking about it.
Hang on one second. While we're still on Disney, was Disney like really important to the foundation of rigging in that they had the money and they had the ideas and engineering and stuff to be able to come up with such grand vision?
Yeah. And because it was the first show that really hung to a plot.
Yeah.
And I had to go survey every venue to make sure we could play it.
Hmm.
And rigid rules, if we can't hang the proscenium here, we can't afford to come do the show if we hang here. So we're going to have to not do this venue unless you change the rules.
Prior to hang from a plot was just basically wing it?
It was wing it. And the only shows there were ice shows and circuses, but they both had a grid.
Yeah.
So they would hang a frame. Didn't matter where it was because aerial acts and choreography wasn't according to the grid.
I see.
Lighting, you just move a light, which was done with bucket trucks in the early days, I believe.
Yeah.
On Disney, I was the focuser because I was the climber.
Interesting.
I was talking about Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins flew and sung. She hung by an umbrella with a wristband, and I was the automation guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget what venue it was, but she got about 75 feet and lost power to her trolley. So I'm on headset, and I holler, Mary's dead. And I take my headset off, go the power button, run backstage to the ladder, climb up, traverse out to where she is, throw my rope down, guys on the ground, which we already had just figured out if it ever happened, they tied a thick rope on. I pulled it up to above her, and then she transfers from her umbrella, and her arm is getting sore by then, but she's still singing.
Oh my goodness. She didn't even
It's
stop the
amazing.
show. This was a
So
live
she
show, I assume.
transfers to the rope. She looks at me and mouths, thank you. And then goes down, doesn't miss a beat. Guys on the ground are holding the rope, and the show goes on. But for
Wild.
the rest of the show, she can't fly, but we still do the show. So
Huh.
nobody's hurt, but the whole audience sees it. They're all clapping like crazy.
Yeah. Well, was there a Disney was there a Disney executive somewhere who needed oxygen when he heard on the radio Mary's dead?
The production manager, the cue caller, they're all there.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
Mary's dead. Mary's dead is
everybody.
Yeah, Mary's dead is not something you want to hear over the comm system, I guess.
They knew what I meant. Mary's dead.
Yeah.
It was. I didn't want to say Mary's lost power. I'm going to run up and lower her
You didn't
down.
have time for all that
Mary's
nonsense.
dead, and then the crew knew.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, and on script, somebody else was going to climb up, but my adrenaline was flooding. So I ran back and I climbed up. And also
Wow.
I was a faster climber anyway.
Yeah.
Young
Wow.
and dumb in those days.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I like it.
Thank you.
So go back to the story after Disney now.
Okay. So I went to rock and roll. I went to Broadway.
Yeah.
And I did Chicago, The Wiz, Pippin, Chorus Line, not in that order.
Small shows. Just little shows, right?
Pardon?
Just the little shows.
Well, they were big at the time.
I'm joking. Yeah, I'm joking.
Pete Keller Scenery built all the shows. While I was doing that, this is the real transition. Coincidentally, they built the set for Jethro Tull. And Pete says, hey, I need somebody to head up the Jethro Tull tour. There's going to be 2 units because we're building it. I said, oh, yeah, okay. I'll I liked rock and roll. I have a lot of rock. I mean, I like Broadway. I have a lot of stories from Broadway. So I said, yeah, rock and roll sounds exciting. I think I'd rather do that. So I did Jethro Tull. I put the crew together with all Disney people. Got Casey Gibbs, who was still in the business, but he wasn't doing rock and roll yet. Casey's the one who got me into rigging on the circus.
Okay.
So he was on one unit, I was on the other. Anyway, Bill McManus had the lighting. He's out of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And I helped him put the rigging together, and he said, we're going to use chain motors. And I had used one on Chicago. I said, yeah, I thought that would be a really good way to do shows. So he said, but we have to figure out how to make them work upside down. In those days, right side up was motor up on a trolley in a factory or in a theater, because that's where I had seen one on Chicago. Said, but we want to turn them over and have them in a box and have the chain go up and hook in. But they don't work right. So we pussed with it and met with a CM and then figured out that you could turn the contactor over because they were gravity contactors, which means they wouldn't work upside down because
Right.
the relays were.
Yeah, it's a safety.
And then right side up, they would work with the contactor upside down, but if you lay the motor on its side, it would chatter because it was still gravity. So we got CM to put a coil in and make a 110 volt contactor. So you hit a button for up, and the contactor was 2-way flip. It would flip one way, and your 3-phase would go up. You go the other way, and it would cross phase, and the motor would go down.
Yeah.
So we started out on Jethro Tull with an advanced truck carrying just the chains, and the rigging, and we'd do the bridle or the dead hang, and then when hang the chain with an airlift. In the early days, they were airlift, compressed air.
Yeah.
And then a guy would take the hook, ride it up, hook it into the bridle, we'd nod our heads if the bridle was good. Eyes were at 45 feet. And we did a couple of shows like that, and then discovered, hey, we don't need, to disconnect the chain from the motor, which is what we had to do, and then mess up the limits. So we had to bypass limits and everything. But we ended up that we didn't have to pre-rig because we didn't know how long it was going to take overnighters, 2 different units, so we would end up at show rig A here, next day would be rig B, and then we would do rig A with the day off.
Leapfrogging, basically.
Yeah, leapfrogging.
Yeah.
There's still now shows of leapfrog, and then as we got better at it rigging wise, we didn't have to leapfrog. As long as we started rigging, as long as rigging truck was on time, we would have a pretty good flow for the day.
Yeah.
Be ready for band sound check in the afternoon.
Yeah. What were in those early days of rigging like that with motors? What were some of the complications or challenges that you discovered and had to overcome, other than flipping the motor, which you've already covered?
Getting qualified riggers.
Yeah.
So I supplied most of the riggers because shows would all call me. When I did the Stones in '75, God, one of the opening acts was the Eagles.
Jeez.
Another one was Rufus, Chaka Khan. I mean, acts in '75, '76, but hey, we can make some money if we carry our gear and hang sound where we're not blocking all these seats. And but there were no riggers, touring riggers. So I took my stash of guys, Joe Branham, Mike Grassley, Jim Barnes, all these early riggers, and then I would break in new riggers where I would have them do the out. So this, you could climb and do the out. Once you learn how to do the out, then you'll know what's done, and I can have you do a load in where you're actually hanging the points. You'll see and it's all tying, not tying, clove hitches and rolling hitches. We took the same things I had learned in the circus, which wasn't technically correct, but rigging had not really been invented yet.
Yeah.
As far as baskets and chokes, you put long seal at the top of a bridle and adjusted and tied it. You always were perfect in elevation and in location.
Wow.
After I took the class with Cable Co., I learned, well, you're not really supposed to tie steel, but right now that's what we got to do. And then learned, wow, you know what? If we put a short cable at the top, we can do a basket or a choke. Chokes are not even good, but we did them. And then we later on, we evolved with Ed Kiss with a sack chain, which originally was deck chain from ships. And he took it and integrated into his rigging. He was an electrician for me on Disney.
Wow.
And he liked it. So he formed Kiss Rigging in San Francisco. And he really was deck chain, which evolved into stack chain, special theatrical alloy chain. That's what stack stands for. And used that on Alabama. And wow, that made it where for bridling, it was easy.
Yeah.
It was easy once you figured the bridle out. You have a choke or a basket at the top, and then your stack chain, and then your 5 or 10 or a dog bone, which was another invention. A dog bone of varying lengths would be 2 foot 30 inches or 3 feet. Excuse me. So those made rigging even more refined. And then as things went on, show riggers were still climbing. We had to climb because house riggers hasn't gravitated there yet. As time went on, house riggers say, wow, we want to get on this tall. We got to be able to climb. And then as riggers, there were more and more climbing riggers. The road rigger, like myself, would end up, oh, we don't have to climb. We go in, hey, house guy, you know how to call points? Oh, yeah. And then house guys became really better than us road guys at calling points. because they know what size basket you need. Oh, you can't wrap there because there's an air duct, or there can't wrap there, there's a catwalk connection. So house guys now call points really better than road riggers.
So in those early days, like you said, you'd bring your guys or whatever. So
Yeah.
where were you getting these guys from? Like, were you going to the circus and saying, "Hey, let me teach you how to climb and be a rigger or whatever"? Or
They originally came from the circus and from Disney. And then they would be guys that we would pick from the vendor crew. You know, vendors like lighting or audio. There wasn't really many vendor crews in those days, but there would be somebody, man, I like this, you know? And I would have guys, they would be my ground rigger on these early tours. There wasn't the money to have a touring road rigger and a touring ground rigger.
huh?
So the ground rigger for lighting points would be a lighting aid. Hey, you want to be the ground rigger for the lighting point? Yeah. There would be
Yeah.
somebody that would want to do it. Same with audio. And you would teach them really what the assembly components were going to be. Then there was not basketing or choking. It was mostly what the assembly components. We'll do 5 and 10 here and only a 10 here, and 30 here or a 20, and so on, like that. And then they would make the assembly, and if they didn't know where to tie it on, you would tell them where to tie it on, and we would leave the length at the top. Hey, put the tail of the cable and the tail of the bowline. You know, bowline, clove hitches, rolling hitches. Those were the main knots we used in the early days.
Interesting.
And the guys were from there. I'd take them out on a tour. Hey, you come and be my ground rigger. I'm going to let you do the loadout.
Yeah,
You know,
that makes
you can
sense.
do the loadout, and you can climb and get there. Okay, now the next show, you're going to go up on the hang.
Yeah.
You'll watch on the hang. Once you've got what you're doing, we'll let you hang a point. And that's how it gravitated or grown from no riggers to now there's loads and loads of them.
Yeah. So as you were starting this industry, basically,
Yeah.
were there any, and I hate to talk about accidents, but were there any significant accidents that really helped to evolve either your thinking or the industry as a whole or the products that were being used? Like, did accidents cause innovation?
Yes, thanks to Rocky. Rocky Paulson with stage rigging became really safety conscious.
Yeah.
And oh God, John, I forget his last name in Chicago, working for me, fell rigging. I never wore gloves, and I always kept my hands in shape by dragging him on catwalk handrails or whatever I could drag him on. Anyway, he was wearing gloves, and we're in Chicago, and at the Stockyard Amphitheater, and he's hanging points, and he's over the balcony, and he's climbing up, and he's wearing gloves. You know, you don't tell somebody how to climb; you suggest ways to climb. And I said, I don't wear gloves, but if you want to wear them, I said, yeah, I want to wear them because I don't want to cut my hands. I said, okay. So he's wearing gloves, he's climbing up, and the Stockyard Amphitheater was what it sounds like. It had cattle shows, stockyard, all came in there and used it with dirt floor, and the dirt goes up to the ceiling. And so the beams were all dirt dust coated. So he's climbing, grabbing the beam, and he gets where he thinks he's holding on to steel, and he's not. He's holding on to the dirt, and it breaks off in his hand, and he falls. And he's over the balcony, and the edge of the balcony is here, and down here is death, and here is 20 feet. He falls and lands here in the seats.
Oh, thank
he's
God.
hurt, but he's not killed.
Yeah.
And so John, God, I should remember his last name. He's a Chicago local guy. And so that was a safe thing. On Disney, Joe Branham fell. He filled in for Mickey on the motorcycle. And for some reason, the wheel came off the wire. It was a motorcycle on a high wire. Wheel came off, flipped him off, and he fell, landed on the stage, and lived.
Huh.
But he's hurt.
Yeah.
I went to see him in the hospital. Well, I'm glad to see you, Joe. He says, I'm dying to see you.
Oh my
Funny
goodness.
remark.
Wow.
George Rucavado, one of my early riggers on Disney in South America, I did the site survey, had to go up on the roof of the Quonset hut, Curitiba, Brazil. And George went down there to do the show, and he's walking on the roof. He steps on a skylight, falls through, misses the stage, laying on the concrete. And Mike Grillicus, the producer, breathe, George, breathe. But he didn't. And God, rest in peace. George passed away.
Oh, no.
Another guy on a rock show who fell and died. So,
but
Rocky, wanted to make it where, falling and dying is not a hazard of the job. Falling and having a rescue plan is the job now. If you fall, you'll be hanging below the beam, and everybody has to have a rescue plan. So that was part of the ETCP when Rocky called me, because I'm still the number one godfather of rigging, and he called me to join the certification crew in Kansas City. And that's what really, there were already harnesses, but there was no requirement.
Yeah.
So really, Rocky and Ed Kish helped buildings facilitate safety lines. You can, to make this a safe beam to rig on, you have to safety line.
Yeah.
One of the rules of safety lines is the anchor has to be, and the line has to be good for 5,000 pounds. So that was a basic rule, and that's what everything was designed for. Maybe the beam itself wouldn't hold 5,000, but horizontal tension would hold 5,000. So that was, those guys, safety-wise, were instrumental in it. Me, I got it off the ground, and I made it where you can hang a show. Hey, we got new rules. Well, this is what we got to be able to do. We have to be able to climb out on that beam and be safetied off. So one way that we did actually in Allegiant Stadium here is you leapfrog your safety. There were not safety lines, but you would have 3 attachment points that you would carry on your harness. So one is you're always hooked with. It may not always be this one. It might be this one.
Yeah.
But you're always safetied off, and the other 2 you're leapfrogging. And so, here's a vertical beam. You attach here, disconnect here, go around over here, hook on, unhook this one, shuttle across, and so on.
Yeah.
So
that's
what's done nowadays.
Yeah.
If there's not a horizontal line, which there aren't in most places. Excuse me.
The interesting thing about safety, I'm sure, is that in rigging is, I already mentioned this before, but like I've known a lot of guys who are kind of like cowboys who are like, oh yeah, I don't use those things. They slow me down or whatever. Yeah. And I think eventually it became mandated. Did you know Billy Brennan? Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did lighting company here.
Yeah. Cinema Services was
They're
his.
still around. They went to Cinema Services.
They became part of PRG a long time ago.
With them.
Yeah, but Billy, being a rigger and also a mountain climber, a very avid mountain climber.
Yeah.
One time at a dinner, he was telling me a story because he had 2 rules when he went climbing. One, he didn't use any safety ropes or what are they called? Pitons, the things that you pound into the rock. And he didn't use any of that stuff. He free climbed. And the other rule was he never told anyone his plan, where he was going or what he was doing. And so he told me one time he was in Australia and he was climbing in a crevice and he fell to the bottom of the crevice and he broke like virtually all of his ribs in the fall. And so he laid there dying for about 2 days, I think was the story. Wow. And then he finally said, well, looks like I'm going to live. I better find a way out of here. So with all kinds of injuries, plus most of his ribs broken, somehow he climbed out of this crevice because nobody knew where he was. He wasn't going to be rescued.
Yeah.
So, it's just that mentality, right? It's like just a danger loving mentality, I think,
I have a couple of falling stories.
Uh-oh.
Do we have time?
Of course. We got loads of time.
One was on Disney. I was a focuser. In the early days, we had 10 20-foot steel lighting trusses that hung 4 on each side and 2 on the ends with all static lighting. So because nobody else climbed, I would be the climber. I'd climb up 50 foot on a cable ladder, which I'll go into that in a minute, and then go traverse out on the cable hod to get to the first truss. And then I would go cable hod, truss, till I get to the furthest one in the line. And then I would sit on it till they stopped swinging. So I'm 150 feet away from where I started. Picture the stage as like a basketball floor. It was made to fit inside a hockey ring. Anyway, so I'm way downstage, and I'm sitting on the truss waiting for it to stop spinning. Coincidentally, the sway pole act, which was part of the show, was rehearsing. There's 4 poles that are 50, 55 feet high, and they're one of them's right next to me. It was a lady, and she's on her post, and she's 5, 7 feet away from me. And she starts her routine. So I don't start focusing. I wait because I could almost kiss her.
Yeah.
But I'm still on the truss, and she starts her routine, and the post swings away from me and is heading back to me. And she's going to slam her head on the steel lighting truss. So I put my hand out, catch her head, and, buff her back and stop her from hitting the lighting truss. And then we both stop swinging. She looks at me again and mouths, "Thank you," and continues with the rehearsal with one eye on me the whole time. And then they're done rehearsing. So I focus that truss, go to the next one, same reverse and repeat, wait for it to stop swinging because the cable swag brings both the trusses together.
Yeah.
And then I go truss to truss. Now I'm back to the first truss. They all stop swinging. I holler, "Okay, lighting truss, everything good?" They nod yes. So I have to traverse to the 2 cable picks, which are block and fall cable picks. And this was like first show of the year. So I'm buff, but I'm not real buff. I'm a little weak. So I get to the hang point, which is 2 to 3 block and fall, with the rope coming out of the top block, goes and tied to hockey rail or something. I forget what it was tied to. And I grab hold of the rope to help swing me around it because it's like a peak like this. And I fall off 50 feet.
What?
Hold on to the rope. And I look up, and I know eventually the 2 blocks are going to hit each other as I keep going down. And I know it's going to burn my hands, but I'm mentally ready. I'm either going to hold on and burn the S out of my hands, or I'm going to slide down to whatever is on the ground.
Yeah.
Okay. So I hold on. My hands are hot as hell.
No gloves.
I land with my feet in 2 different cable boxes. And they're almost crotch height, but not quite crotch height. So I land, wow, and I let the rope go up. And one of the lighting guys is sitting there, "Wow, Roy, that was cool. Can you show me how to do that?" I said, "Later."
Yeah, maybe not.
Away.
Wow.
And that was a later on accident. In the circus, in the old days, you know what a cable ladder is?
Yes, of course.
Okay. They're usually 1/8 inch or 3/16 with aluminum rungs. Holes are drilled in it. The rung has got a crimp below it and above it. It doesn't matter how you grab it. That's how you climb. In the old days, like in In the circus, they were made out of 3-strand rope with a wooden ring. The wooden rings were like tapered and they stuck through. Okay? In the old days, you just climb, grab the rung, and climb. I was climbing up to do something on a wire, on a trapeze act, and I'm climbing up, and the rung pops out. And I fall off backwards from about 25 feet.
Oh, no.
Okay. Luckily, knock on wood, luckily, I'm over a slack net, and the net is just above the ground. And so I get a full body muscle tense. I have better words, but I can't really use one. And I flatten out, spread eagle, and I land in the net. And I hit the ground, but I don't hit the ground hard enough to hurt me, knocks the wind out of me, but nothing broken.
Wow.
And I just thank God I'm alive.
Wow.
So those are my two main accidents.
It sounds like in that business, you're always so close to death. Like most people fortunately get lucky and hit something on the way down or catch something on the way down or whatever, but you're just like that close, you know?
On Disney, we had games that we played to make us strong.
Mm-hmm.
One game would be, we had scaffolding for Mary Poppins, and then later for Peter Pan, we flew Kathy Wrigley. But we would hang from, there was like 3 sections, hang, swing back, and drop to catch the next bar 8 feet down. That would be one way we'd build strength. Another way would be to hold onto this bar and swing to that bar. We only did that on the low one, where if you fell, you'd only 8 feet above the ground, so you'd be all right.
Right.
So we did that a lot. And then we'd do one where we would have these trolleys that flew people. We'd have 2 of them facing each other, and 2 of us would be hanging on. And the game would be who can hang on the longest while it's going up.
Aye, aye, aye.
Eventually, you're going to be too high to drop or too afraid to drop. And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the other guy to drop, and then you drop immediately. So we never got hurt, but every once in a while, oh shit, I'm too high to drop now. Okay, we went, or they're still hanging.
Oh my goodness! You know, Roy, it's funny when I was a kid, I thought I was pretty tough. You know, growing up in a small town, and to me, tough was, you know, I rode my banana bike without a helmet. You know, the stuff that you're talking about is unbelievable.
Without a harness.
No kidding. Yeah, no kidding. And without
that was in those days.
But without any education on it, without any knowledge, like you were learning as you went. So you didn't know, you didn't know the limits.
We had our strength.
Yeah. So was your first rock and roll tour Joni Mitchell?
Was it what now?
Your first rock and roll tour, was it Joni Mitchell?
No, Jethro Tull.
Oh, right.
That was the first tour with Chain Motors.
Yeah.
Joni was, I think, my second one.
Okay.
Joni, we didn't have Chain Motors that I remember, but there must have been. In the early days, most tours stacked sound. They didn't hang sound until the Stones. Actually, on Jethro Tull, we had a basket, and we stacked in the basket and hung the basket until a lot of tours that couldn't afford a rigger just used house, like Elvis.
Yeah, yeah.
Elvis, had me, but he didn't tour with lights.
Yeah. Well, one second, because I want to ask you a question about Joni Mitchell. I read somewhere in your notes that there's actually a song with your name in it, a Joni Mitchell song with your name in it.
Bickel the Rigger. I forget the song, but she sang it. And I thought it was funny in Madison, Wisconsin, that I would rappel out of the ceiling to time landing right next to the piano when she says Bickel the Rigger.
Wow.
So, and the song was actually a ballad. But anyway, I climbed up, of course, and I'm all ready, snaked my rope down where it wouldn't be, an eyesore, where she wouldn't see it.
Yeah.
Which I did. And then I rappelled down. I stopped right above her head, So she would see me and then went down where she'd say, Bickel the rigger. And so she says, Bickel the rigger. I said, Bickel the rigger. She says, Bickel the rigger again, Bickel the rigger, and so on.
That's
And then,
funny.
I wrote a song and sang it to her and the band on the plane, which I don't have a copy of it handy. But it was Robin Ford was a guitarist, and he accompanied me. And it was to the music was to Robin Hood, Robin Hood, but it was Robin Ford with what the first verse was. And I did a verse on each of the band, including Joni Mitchell that rhymes with Bickel. That was the last one. And I don't know how I had the fortitude to do that. I'm trying to watch my language.
Oh, you don't have to for me. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
That's
I had
wild
the
though.
balls to do it in front of her and the band.
Yeah. That is wild. Like where did you come up with the idea that I should go and share this song with them and maybe they'll record it?
Well, she and I hit it off well. Didn't have no romance, but she spent a lot of time with me between shows. Her boyfriend didn't like it.
Are you sure you weren't the guy that You're So Vain was about?
Could have been. Did she write that? I don't think so.
Yeah. Oh, that wasn't that her? No, that's Carly Simon. Carly Simon.
Carly
My
Simon.
bad. I always get them
Tony
confused.
was one of the pioneers as well.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. And it was her plane we flew on. That was on 2 tours I've only flown, hers and Elvis.
Wow.
Elvis had 5 planes, 5 planes on the tour. We had a hotel every night. We made last call because the only thing that hung were audio points, Clare Brothers. Bruce Jackson was the audio guy. He would tell me where he wanted them to hang. We had sometimes 1, which would be 2 points, sometimes 2, which would be 4 points, sometimes 4, which would be 8 points. And but he was always the audio guy. I spent the show on the stage right wing, which was his monitor wing. Usually they're on stage left. But on Elvis wanted it on stage right. And then I would stand there with him. And then if there was some barricade issue, Elvis would give me the nod. And then I would go. It could be 2 ladies fighting. It could be too many security guys there because he didn't want any guys there. He wanted all the attention on him. But usually it was a couple of ladies in the audience. Got a couple of Elvis stories.
Yeah, please.
Okay. One I did not tell yet. I'm on my wing, and he's I don't know whether it was a watch. I think it was a ring or a watch he had, and he was slapping hands, the ladies in the audience. And one of the ladies ripped off the ring. I think it was a ring. And only 3 of us knew it. The lady and Elvis and me. Because
Wow.
I'm watching all the hand slapping because I figured somebody would grab him and pull him into the audience. That never happened, except fortunately.
Yeah.
But anyway, I see the lady who grabbed the ring. And so I jump off the sound riser and haul ass between the barricade and the stage, keeping my eye on the lady. And I happen to the corner of my eye see Elvis. He shakes his head and mouths the word no.
Wow.
Shakes his head again and continues singing. And I go back to the wing, and to my knowledge, the ring could be worth $1 million now because he didn't go get it. I didn't see security head out there.
So
Really.
he wouldn't let you go get it back.
He didn't want the disturbance.
Wow. So were you like his sort of makeshift security guy,
I
or
did makeshift security. His family and Linda. Every once in a while there would be a bleacher set up backstage for guests, and I would walk them to the riser, not a barricade, to the little riser. It was unofficial, no money for it. With Colonel Parker, who he knew me. Sometimes he would do it. Sometimes he would be busy and he would tell me to do it. And I'd walk him over. he also would zing out scars. You've probably seen that on video.
Yeah.
To chicks in the audience. Another show this happens. He zinged one out. Two ladies get it, and it's a big scarf, and they're tug of war on it. Neither one giving up. Nice catch him, gives me the look again. So I go out there and I see the two ladies. I wiggle my hands in there and calm them down. Add a pocket knife. I get the knife out. I cut the scarf in half between their hands.
Yeah.
They each have a half, and they're happy. He gives me a little subtle nod because that could have been a bad one.
What a great diplomatic idea you had,
Yeah.
Nice way to solve it. You have part and you have part. Here you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I did another Colonel Parker story. I think we were in Charlotte, and Elvis had two shows. And when I booked my schedule in 77, or could have been 76, I didn't realize he had two shows. So I booked Queen in Atlanta the next day. So, because the Queen didn't have a tour rigger. So at like 5 a.m, I already had it covered with Bruce Jackson and with the house guy. It was all catwalk rigging, fortunately. And so I get on the elevator at 5 a.m, and Colonel Parker's on there, on the elevator. He says, "What are you doing here at 5 a.m?" I said, "Oh well, I'm doing Queen in Atlanta, and I got to be there by 8 o'clock." He says, "Don't you charge Elvis for today?"
Oh my goodness!
Okay.
Wow.
I won't. But I'm glad he didn't really ream me out.
Wow.
We get to the lobby, and I get on a taxi, and I don't know what he did. Fortunately, the out went good. I went and did Queen, and I hung at the barricade all show. And it was still the days where there weren't climbing riggers.
Was being out
to do all the points.
Was being out with Elvis as cool as one might think it would be?
Oh, it was great. I mean, because he wasn't as the king. Yeah. And I was, coincidentally, I was in Vegas with Bruce Jackson because Elvis was slated to open the Hilton Conrad room. He was doing the theater, and he wanted to do an arena type room. So the day before we have the show in Portland, Maine, Bruce and I are doing a site survey. He's giving me A and B. This is where I really want sound, but if I can't get it here, you tell me where the closest spot is, that kind of thing. So I went up, and I don't remember detail of where the location was, but finally Elvis nods, and I nod, and I come down. We go to our rooms, have an early flight, and I'm eating at him in his room. I didn't know it. My phone was ringing already, but I wasn't there to answer it. Then in his room, phone ring, Bruce picks it up. "Yeah, Roy's here." "What do you mean, don't text the flight?" "The king is dead."
Oh, no.
And so right away, we turned the TV on, and it's in the news, but it's not confirmed.
Wow.
Reportedly, something has happened with Elvis at Graceland. More details to follow. So we stayed there, and then word goes that he's dead.
Wow.
Or missing, as the story goes.
Yeah. Isn't he still alive? I think I saw him when I was getting ice cream in Nashville one day.
Yeah.
No, that's a wild story.
10,000 Maniacs, Natalie Merchant did an Elvis song, and she knew, because we had talked a lot, that I had done Elvis. She says, "Why don't you, while I'm singing the Elvis song, come out here on stage and do an Elvis dance?" So I said, "Okay," which I did.
An Elvis dance.
An Elvis dance. I don't remember what it was, just weird moving.
Yeah.
And then trying to look cool. And we did that at a few shows.
That's funny. Funny. Wow.
Anyway.
And you did Sinatra too, right?
I did, yeah. I did Frank in his touring days, late 70s, middle 70s. And his security guy said, you on the tour?" I said, "Yes." "I see you always hanging by the stage." I said, "Yeah, I'm always checking everything to make sure it's safe." and he says, "Don't touch his hair." What? He said, "You're okay around the stage, but don't touch his hair." So I don't know whether it was a toupee or what, but it was good.
I would guess that's got to have
Yeah.
something to do with it, but
And 82, I think it was, I opened as stage manager for Thomas and Mac here in Vegas.
yeah.
That's a UNLV
Yep.
arena. And I wish I did autographs in those days. It was Frank and Dean and Sammy. And what's the fourth guy that was in the
Rat Pack.
Rat Pack? Yeah. Joey Bishop.
Yeah.
And they were
The one
all,
that nobody ever remembers.
They were the name then in Vegas.
Yeah.
Anyway, I did all the climbing because there were still no house guys, and not many
Wow.
house guys in those days.
Wow. That's incredible. What a friggin' life you've lived. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then
I came here to do a show for PRG. Jerry Harris was the CEO. He was, I think, the first CEO after Pete Feller. Oh, Jerry Harris was my automation guy when I did Chicago and The Wiz.
yeah.
Anyway, so he was the head of PRG. I came here to do a show, and then the local guys said, "Boy, move here and you'll make plenty of money." So I did, and then I was at the convention center for 18 years and doing one-offs, doing corporate one-offs, doing award shows like with Michael Jackson and New Kids on the Block and Beyonce. Flew around the world,
Wow.
doing award shows actually, Cancun, Hong Kong. But moving here, and as soon as I moved here, Cinema Services wanted me to head up the crew at the Sands, and I was still in touring mode, so I didn't. But then I got asked to do GES at the convention center. GES still does LDI.
Yeah.
So I did LDI for 20 years.
Wow.
So I know most of the people. And then even as a local guy, I would head up the ETCP guy on the LDI show because they wanted an ETCP guy, which was me.
That's wild. So,
Yep.
Crazy question. Like, aside from safety, how has rigging evolved since the beginning of time?
You don't need to go do a site survey too often anymore. You just get an AutoCAD. AutoCAD and Vectorworks have really changed rigging in the old days. Like on Disney, I had to do a site survey because there was nothing on paper to look at. And I would tell them what and where I was going to hang shit. And it was almost always okay.
Yeah.
But with AutoCAD, I learned Vectorworks, but was never really very good at it. So I had a girl, and then I would put in where we were going to hang trusses. We'd figure out where the stage was going to go because front of stage would determine where all your points go in rock and roll. And then I would mark stuff, mark bridles, pencil CAD, I would call it. And then I'd hand it to the girl. She would convert it where it'd be a PDF, which is also what read in AutoCAD or Vectorworks. I'd look at it and say, "Yep, that's good," or "That's not good."
Yeah.
And never had to do vertical components too much. Would do horizontal components for cable weights because that's really mostly what houses cared about.
Yeah.
But that's what really changed it. My son Ben is head rigger. In fact, he left today for Miami on Morgan Wallen.
Oh, wow.
And
That's a big show.
He's got it down. I mean, he does AutoCAD. All the riggers today do it. I used to say that I did it, but now I've forgotten so much. I don't say I do it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's been the main change, along with safety rules and more rigid weight requirements. I guess there's a local rigger that looks at the AutoCAD in each of the venues. The last tour I did was Duran Duran a couple of years ago. A lighting guy did it, and I put rigging in it, and then they sent it to all the buildings. When we played the Gardens, they said, if you're less than $100,000, it doesn't matter where you hang. So it became easier because houses are built better now.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the old days, we had to do quadruple bridals,
Yeah.
and that's with no ratings at all. Just because you could look at it, say, boy, that's not going to hold. This will hold, and do all kinds of bridling, sometimes for location, sometimes for weight ratings.
Yeah.
But now it's a science.
Yeah.
There's a house guy that knows it all, knows his venue, and a road guy that knows his show.
Yeah.
And,
I would assume that the gear has obviously changed an immense amount, as well, as far as, motors, motor control systems, including the safety that's built into those,
But motors, there's really not much that's changed other than there's many motors and many different brands of motors. There's still basically a quarter ton you hardly ever use. There's half tons, 1 tons, and 2 tons that every tour uses them. Quarter tons are just like you're carrying it for something that maybe could only be used once in a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like using a bunch of half-inch shackles. Strength-wise, they're fine, but why carry them when they don't fit anything?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now 5/8 and 3/4 is mostly the only shackles you carry, and you can use a double 5/8 for 3/8 steel. So three strengths of motors, 2 sizes of cable, and 2 sizes of shackles is all you normally carry.
Yeah.
In fact, on my Duran Duran, I still in my mind have yellow 50-foot steels that I'm going to order, and I call Bill Rinksel, who is a good friend of mine. I said, hey, here's our schedule. Is there any building that I need 50-foot steel? And he says, no. He says, shows are hanging higher and buildings are higher, but you don't need 50s anymore. A 30 and a 20 for the few 50s you would need works. So I didn't order any 50s.
Huh.
And 50s have kind of gone by the wayside.
Yeah.
In the old days, we even had 100-footers, which
Yeah.
would be black, which nobody needs those nowadays.
Yeah.
And 50s now, you don't need that often. So 5, 10, 20s, 30s, and dog bones.
Well,
And
what
duck
about
shake.
what about the size of shows nowadays, though? Like, especially
Right.
stadium shows, obviously.
Yeah. On Disney, I had a bunch of riggers, but that was training camp. On Disney was flat from like 80 to 85 for me. And that was training camp. Almost everybody was a rigger. For instance, Lanny Lander, I think he's on Garth Brooks now. He was one of my trainees on Disney.
Yeah.
Ed Kish I had on Disney. Bill Rinksel for a few shows on Disney. And they're all head riggers in their own right now,
Yeah.
totally qualified. Ed with Kish rigging, Joe Branham with Branham rigging, Rocky Paulson with stage rigging.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the main rigging companies.
That's wild. That's wild. But what I was asking you though, Roy, what about the size of shows now? Does that create additional complications? Because some of these rigs, obviously, like if I think back to the 80s and 90s, you might have had 20 moving lights when moving lights came out. Now every show has 1,000 moving lights, things like that. And the LED screens and the rigs are much heavier. The speaker systems.
Duran, I did with 2 riggers. But now the road riggers don't have to climb. You don't need as many road riggers. My son on Morgan Wallen has 4 riggers, 4 touring riggers. I was one of them when they played Allegiant because one of the guys couldn't make it. And there's just so many points and so many things to watch and load cells, for hanging video and some audio use load cells, which shows point weight, because now we're really forced to watch loads on things that change every day.
Right.
So video of something, you're depending upon all the guys that hang it, and so I spent the day on the load cell, like I'm looking at the monitor, my computer now. You watch that all day till videos at trim, so you don't overload any point, because if you don't load it evenly, you could end up having a point overloaded.
Right. Yeah.
And we want to make sure we're not worried about overloading the house steel. We're worried about overloading a motor and have something fail within your own rig.
Yeah.
Something
Yeah.
fail below the ceiling or below the ground support.
I see some of these outdoor shows, these stadium shows, and they scare the hell out of me. Like, the size of these shows and the amount of gear that are on these rigs and stuff, it just scares the hell out of me. Like, I'm like, ooh.
Ground supports are getting bigger and stronger.
Yeah.
I was the rigger for Rock in Rio here in town in 2015. And the, John, God damn, my mind went blank. The roof company said, no, don't have to worry about overloading anything. We have an engineer on call.
Yeah.
So I did end up calling the engineer for guying out, the rig once we were. Some things you have to guy out, even in outdoor ground supports.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But let me get this straight. You're still working?
Mostly retired.
but you're in your mid 80s. You said you just did a show like a couple years ago or something where you were the rigger.
I did convention work last year.
That is incredible.
Year, I don't know. Was Morgan Wallen this year? I'm mostly retired by family. My wife and son.
Wow.
Both mentally, I think I'm ready. I mean, I do get tired quicker.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel good. I sound good. I think I sound good.
You sound great and you look great. And
for an old guy.
But you're in your mid 80s and you're still doing rigging. That to me blows my mind. I mean, it feels to me like it's a young person's sport these days, Well,
I haven't had to climb probably for 20 years. I did on Creed, on New Kids on the Block. I think it was at 9. My son was one of the riggers and had to climb a ladder to do something on a Austrian drape or something.
Yeah.
And my son said, "You're too old to climb." That was 10 years ago.
He wasn't wrong, Roy. He wasn't wrong. I will tell you. I'm a bit younger than you, and I'm too old to climb. That's for sure. Don't you also have a granddaughter in the business as well?
Valeria. She's a local rigger, and she rigs with my son every once in a while.
That is awesome.
She's a good climber. I'm not a good climber anymore.
Yeah.
But she knows how to hang points. She can pull a half-ton by herself. I don't know if she's got a 1-ton yet, but she's done a half-ton motor up by herself.
That is impressive.
We love her.
That's impressive.
And my son loves her, and that's good.
Yeah, that is impressive. So you've got 3 generations, 3 generations of Bickels.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and that's a lot of stories. I mean, when you guys sit around a dinner table or something, the stories that are being told are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a keynote in 2012 in London. I forget who that was for.
Plaza, I think. Plaza,
yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you got it better than me.
Yeah. Well, I read your notes.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, your story is incredible. I appreciate so much you taking some time today to talk with me about this.
I didn't really go into the couple of movies I've done.
Oh, well, let's do that quickly.
Okay. I did G.I. Jane in Orlando, and they needed somebody to hang a ground support that would hold all of their monitors for the control room for G.I. Jane.
Yeah.
That's where they're all sitting, and they didn't want monitors on the table. They wanted them all hung. So that was kind of uneventful. It was just a good experience. And then I did Oh Heavenly Dog with Chevy Chase. I did that in Montreal. And I learned something there. They hired me to do Heaven's Gate. They have a gate that would open and close remotely,
Yeah.
which was no problem. But they also had a tube, like banks have them now, where you put a cylinder in it and then compressed air shoots it.
Yeah.
And that was a message from the pearly gates, I think, to the throne. And I looked at the tube, and it was on a slight angle. I said, that looks ugly. So I moved it. I made it level. It really wasn't my domain. You know, I just did it to make it look good.
Yeah.
And the gaffer said, hey, who moved that? I said, I did. I said, it wasn't level. And he says, here's why it wasn't level. And he said, watch the little cylinder. He went to shoot the cylinder. He said, see how it stopped? I said, yes. He said, that's because there's not a compressed air. You do it when it's level. We had to make it downhill.
Oh, no.
Oh, God, I'm sorry.
Uh-oh.
So I learned there, don't mess with somebody else's stuff without talking to them.
Yeah, that's a good point, huh?
Then I did Star Trek Generations. My job on that was to belay, which is safety off William Shatner.
Okay.
Okay. So we're at Valley of Fire, outdoors with cliffs and everything. So we're shooting a scene live where I'm holding his rope because he's like next to a drop off where without safety, if he fell, he would die or be severely injured.
Yeah.
And they're shooting off, blowing up stuff. And I'm on this belay line and I see it in the corner of my eye. They hadn't done it live before. And I see all the stuff blowing up and I hear Roy. And I turn around and look, and it's William Shatner. And he goes, focus. Because he caught me with my eyes off of him only for a few seconds.
Wow.
So he was very alert. Hats off to him.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch any of the stuff. I only watched him.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was a learning lesson too. Pay attention to your job.
That is so cool. That is so cool.
No repercussions on it. Nobody got hurt, but it was a learning. Because I did all the lines up and down the mountainside for everybody. They could use ropes to pull themselves up. They wouldn't get killed if they fell. They would just slide in the dirt.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
What an experience. I mean, what a life. Again, I appreciate you sharing all of this with us, Roy. And I actually, one last thing I want to mention, I mentioned it at the beginning, but you're going to be at LDI in a few different events this year. And again, I'm appreciative, and I'm sure the entire industry is going to be appreciative, but you're going to be part of the rigs sessions, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm doing something where I'm one of the organizers with Jake Berry called X Live, and you're going to be a part of that. And you're also a part of Dining with Dinosaurs, which is when sort of the whole industry gets to rub shoulders with legends like yourself and have a couple of drinks and some food. Yeah.
In the 70s, when I did Yes, Jake Berry was a keyboard player.
Oh, really?
And he and I, even today, are still friends.
That was his first gig, as I recall. He talked about it on my podcast.
And then he branched out and is a renowned production manager now.
Yeah.
When we do Rock Lidditz, he was one of the speaker guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I come into a room and he would say, hey, everybody, there's Roy Bickel, the oldest rigger in the world. That was how he would introduce me.
Well, he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong, you know? I mean, when you created it, you know, there was no riggers before you. So that's pretty awesome. It's an amazing story, and I appreciate you sharing it. And I look forward to seeing you later this year at the LDI show.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, Roy. And you have an incredible day and week and summer. And I'll see you.
Let me know when this is going to be broadcast so I can watch it.
Yeah, Sarah will get that to you in the next week. And
I guess I'll hang on for Sarah.
Yeah, 1 second. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Roy.
Bye-bye.